Welcome. This is a reading of an exegetical and biblical-theological treatment of Psalm 2, framed within the progressive unfolding of the divine promise plan. Psalm 2 stands with Psalm 1 as the intentional two-part gateway to the Psalter. Both are bound by the beatitude, "Blessed are." Psalm 1 sets the path of Torah faithfulness. Psalm 2 turns our eyes to the proper orientation toward God's cosmic messianic rule. This royal psalm rests on the Deuteronomy 32 framework. After Babel, Yahweh disinherited the rebellious nations, allotting them under the sons of God while choosing Israel as his own possession. Those national deities fell into corruption and fostered global rebellion, as seen in the cosmic courtroom of Psalm 82. Psalm 2 marks the decisive countermove in the promise plan. Grounded in Nathan's dynastic oracle in 2 Samuel chapter 7, the localized Davidic Covenant becomes the geopolitical and cosmic instrument by which God strips rebellious powers of authority, reclaims the disinherited nations, and establishes universal rule through his chosen king. We turn now to the exegesis, verses 1 through 3, the insurrection of the nations. The psalm opens with a rhetorical question about the frantic agitation of the nations. A multi-layered conspiracy is underway, involving both human rulers and the hostile spiritual entities that animate them. Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? Earthly kings and rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed, his Mashiach. An assault on God's earthly representative is structurally an assault on the heavenly throne itself. The rebels cry, "Let us tear their fetters apart and cast away their cords from us." In the language of ancient Near Eastern suzerainty treaties, these cords are not tyrannical bondage but the protective covenantal obligations of the great king. The nations, seduced by the dream of absolute autonomy, misread accountability as confinement. Verses 4 through 6, the derision and decree of the suzerain. The scene shifts from the chaotic earthly war room to the serene heavenly court. Yahweh sits enthroned in the heavens, laughing and holding the rebels in derision. This laughter is not instability, it is the expression of unshakable omnipotence. Then his laughter turns to wrath, terrifying them in his burning displeasure. He silences the uproar with a single historical fact, "But as for me, I have installed my king upon Zion, my holy mountain." Zion is established as the true cosmic mountain, the intersection of heaven and earth, standing against every pagan high place and the hubris of Babel. Verses 7 through 9, the filial investiture of the vassal king. The newly enthroned Davidic king now speaks, reciting the legal charter of his administration. "I will surely tell of the decree of the Lord. He said to me, 'You are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will surely give the nations as your inheritance, and the very ends of the earth as your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall shatter them like earthenware." The language of sonship and begotten is the standard legal terminology of suzerain vassal treaties. When a great king installed a lesser king, he legally adopted him. "Today I have begotten you" is an investiture formula marking the historical moment of coronation, not ontological origin. This sonship grants global jurisdiction. The Davidic monarch is told to ask for the nations. The title deeds once held by the corrupt sons of God are transferred to the Messiah. Resistance meets decisive judgment, an iron scepter that shatters rebellious regimes like a potter smashing flawed pottery. Verses 10 through 12, the admonition to earthly potentates. The psalm closes with an urgent call. Kings and judges of the earth are told to be wise, to be warned, to serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. They are commanded to kiss the Son, the concrete Near Eastern gesture of political fealty. Refusal brings sudden wrath and destruction, yet the psalm ends where the Psalter began. "Blessed are all who take refuge in him." New Testament appropriations. Later biblical writers organically take up these royal promises and locate their ultimate fulfillment in Jesus Christ, his life, death, resurrection, and cosmic ascension, while never erasing the concrete significance of ethnic Israel in the Davidic line. In Acts chapter 4, verses 25 through 28, the Apostolic Church quotes verses 1 and 2 to interpret the crucifixion. The conspiring nations and peoples are identified with Roman Gentiles and the inhabitants of Israel. The kings and rulers are mapped onto Herod and Pontius Pilate. The ultimate rebellion anticipated by the psalm occurred at the cross. In Acts chapter 13, verse 33, Paul links the investiture decree of verse 7, "Today I have begotten you," to the resurrection of Jesus. Resurrection is cast as a dynamic birth from the dead that legally confirms Christ's status as firstborn heir to the global estate. Hebrews chapter 1 verse 5 and chapter 5 verse 5 pair Psalm 2:7 with 2 Samuel 7:14 to demonstrate Christ's superiority over angels and the unique coupling of royal and high priestly offices. Revelation chapter 12 verse 5 and chapter 19 verse 15 apply the iron scepter of Psalm 2:9 to the Messiah. Christ's resurrection and ascension deal the decisive blow against the dragon, guaranteeing that his people will share in the final victory over rebellious world empires. Theological synthesis. Through the lens of the promise plan, Psalm 2 displays the organic unity and progressive development of canonical revelation. The concrete historical realities of the Davidic throne are not discarded, they are amplified to cosmic scale. The literal promises concerning Zion, ethnic Israel, and the Davidic line remain valid and secure within the one people of God. They form the foundational bedrock for the Messiah's reclamation of the world. Christ does not bypass the original geo-historical framework. Entering history as the perfect Davidic vassal, he wins victory over both physical tyrants and the spiritual principalities of the Deuteronomy 32 worldview. The original coronation song of Israel's king escalates into eschatological reality. The gospel breaks the power of the corrupt cosmic placeholders, gathers the disinherited nations into Abraham's family, and establishes a secure kingdom in which the raging of the nations ceases under the undisputed rule of the Son.